Welcome back to Where You At. I'm your host, Taylor Anthony, and in this episode, I'm catching up with an old friend of mine, Jacob Hervey. We go all the way back to high school, and Jacob is now a Yale Law School student. We talk about everything from navigating the leap from undergrad to one of the most prestigious law schools in the country, to finding balance and building community when those expectations can feel high. Whether you're dreaming about law school or just curious how someone stays grounded with a very demanding workload, Jacob's perspective is thoughtful and inspiring. Jacob, welcome to my Where You At podcast. Thank you for coming on as a guest.
I'm really excited. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chit chat and catch up.
Yes, me too. Me too. So I know it's kind of been a minute since we last, I know we text me, you and Lexi text every now and then, but it's been a while since we actually had an actual catch up. I know it was before you went away to school. I know it was before I moved here to Buffalo, but, I think it's been a while.
I think it was the summer after you graduated college, and I want to say it was in Jasmine's Asian Bistro in Belden.
Oh my God. No, that's right. Because it was before
Yeah.
I moved to Chicago. Me and Lexi had just finished undergrad.
Yes,
You still had it.
yes.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We did go to Jasmine's. Oh my gosh. So that was what, 2 years ago?
I think 2023. Yeah.
Time just goes so fast. It really does. It really does.
Well, it's hard, especially when people leave the same town. The frequency at which people go home is diminished, but also
Exactly.
the rate at which people go at the exact same time is also rare.
Right. But I know, we go way back to high school. Middle school kind of, but I know we did a speech and debate together, mock trial together throughout high school. Those were some really fun times. I think a lot of my high school memories are kind of around those things that I was involved in and that you were also involved in. And
I think since my freshman year in high school, so you were a year ahead of me, so your sophomore year, we were on the teams for both speech and mock trial together. So yeah, all through my high school, most of your high school.
Yeah. I guess right now, how is Connecticut treating you?
I hate it. I like school. I like my friends, but I hate Connecticut.
Really? Because Yale's in New Haven, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to sound like such a NIMBY right now, but New Haven is not a fun place to be. I had to call the police last weekend because I encountered some violent crime.
Oh my, Jacob, what?
So it was 1 a.m. I had to call the police as I was walking home. I wasn't the victim. I was just witnessing someone else.
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm safe.
Oh my gosh.
But...
So New Haven isn't, I really don't know much about Connecticut. I've never been, but New Haven isn't a very safe area.
Yeah, it definitely has a really dark history too of the city's very gentrified, which has led to a lot of weird policing, not weird, but bad policing habits. And now the city has been, I think it's one of the cities with the highest crime rates now.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's not. Yeah, some people are New Haven lovers. I'm not. I like school. I like my friends. Don't get me wrong. The city itself, though, not so much.
Well, that's good that you have people that are making this experience better for you. It's funny, before you went, we'll get into this because I'm sure people are wondering, why the heck are you in, Connecticut and stuff. But my old track coach from John Carroll, he is the head track coach now at Yale. So I know you ran back in the day. Yeah. So if you want me to put in, a good word, I know you ran back in the day.
I downloaded Strava yesterday. So, if you want me to join the team, contact me.
I'll put in a good word for you. I'll see what can be done if you want me to. So I know we are from, same hometown, the PTO, Massillon, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, 330, all of that. And I think we're very similar in the sense that we got away from home. Always loved my hometown so much, gained so much there. But I feel like there was just more out there for us. We had to go and see the world. So, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to college, what you're kind of up to now. We'll just kind of start there.
Yeah. So my story is lifelong student, zero-time worker, I guess, so far, which is not a great thing. So yeah, as Taylor said, I went to high school, Taylor. I grew up in Canton, and then I went to Duke for undergrad. I just finished up there about a little bit over a year ago. So back in 2024, and now I'm a law student. I'm in my second year at Yale Law School, so I have 2 more years to go, including this year. But yeah, so I've been a student since I was 4, so 4 to 24. Excited to actually become an employed adult here in the near horizon. But that's kind of my life story in 10 seconds. or like 20.
So they call you're 2L now, right?
Yes, that's what the lingo the
The
cool
lingo,
kids call
yeah.
it.
See, I'm learning. I know law is not going to be my area of expertise, but I can learn a little bit. I know you went to Duke. I know, but also graduating high school for you, you were a COVID year
Yeah,
graduation.
I forgot
So
about that. Yes, I
yeah,
was
isn't
a
that
COVID.
crazy?
Yeah, got all the graduation on Zoom, like video presentations.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun though because it's a fun time capsule. I went to Columbus a few weeks ago to see my friends from high school, and one night when we came back from the game, we were like, "What are we gonna watch?" And then I was like, "I'm just putting on Perry High School
Please
News
stop.
class
You
of
put on your
2020."
you did not
And
watch
we
your
watched
graduation.
the YouTube videos. Unironic, not our graduation. We were watching like,
Uh-huh.
I forget, like other video stuff they did for the class of 2020. And we just watched it eating our DoorDash at like 2 a.m.
How nostalgic.
Yeah.
So I know, towards the end of high school, just kind of thinking back, and when, like Lexi and I were getting ready to go to college because we were a year ahead of you. You had already kind of started your college searching and planning and visits. So what did you ultimately decide on going to Duke?
Yeah. I mean, the 50,000-foot view is that it ended up being a lot of happenstance. My goal was to, once I got into colleges, because I didn't get into most colleges I applied to. I got denied from more than I got in. But
But
my
also let us
plan
know
was,
the types of colleges. Where were
I,
you
I was applying
applying
to
to?
I was applying to good schools. I was very,
Yeah.
really wanted to go to out of state was kind of a
Mhm.
goal. So my goal was like come March of senior year after I got into hopefully a few places at tour. But right when I got into colleges was right when COVID came, shut everything down.
Yeah.
So there was kind of my approach to it was I was watching people who were like doing YouTube blogs around different campuses was kind of how I got a view of what the campuses looked like.
Hmm.
And it ended up being a lot of happenstance. If you asked my family where they thought I was going to go, it certainly wasn't going to be Duke. In fact, I later found out that my family had a betting market on where I was going to go. Like each of my siblings and my parents and my
Yeah.
grandparents all
Where were they
bet on
betting
where.
on you to go?
I think they thought I was going to go to UVA or Brown, I think was where the
Really?
majority of the bets were. Only one person bet on Duke, and it was someone who didn't really know me all that closely. So she must have some
Wow.
sort of like sixth sense or something. But I loved it. I love my friends from Duke. I
Hmm.
loved Duke as a school. It was really great for me. I actually went back there about a month ago. I was very nostalgic walking around campus. It's definitely my
Aw.
happy place. I loved it.
Yeah, living in North Carolina and North Carolina is beautiful, and I know that campus is really pretty too. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you enjoyed those 4 years there.
Yeah, I like it. My goal long term is to live in the Research Triangle in North Carolina. Um,
Mm.
like Durham,
Okay.
I think Raleigh, all that I think is really pretty. So that's where I want to end up.
Yeah, I've considered North Carolina for future because trust me, I can't stay. I can't stay in the
In
cold
Buffalo.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great for the time being, and I'm learning so much in this period of my life and this job. But I still think kind of like what you were saying, lifelong learner. Maybe I just think there's still something else out there for me. I don't know
Hmm.
what that may look like. I don't know what my next steps will be. I have 2 years left here in Buffalo with my current
Yeah.
reporting job, so I'm just curious to see where all of this takes me, and especially with not only my reporting but also this new platform I'm trying to build with this podcast. So I would love to maybe live down south. I'm not sure if that's where I'll end up next, but I mean, we're from Ohio, and then now I lived in Chicago,
Yeah.
Midwest, and now I'm in Buffalo. Like I need sun
You've
year
really
round. I
done
need
the whole
yeah,
triangle.
I really have. So I really need sun year round.
Yeah.
But I think for me, so I did my 4 years of undergrad at John Carroll. Then I went to Northwestern. I did their master's program. So I did 5 years of school. I think I'm maxed out. I don't know
Yeah.
what else will come, but I did want to ask. I know you told me you're economics and public policy major, right?
Yes. Hey, good
So what
recall.
made you?
Yes.
Yes, I read your little fact rundown sheet. So what made you? I mean, I think I knew you were like in
Yeah.
economics, but it was nice to get a little more in depth to what exactly it is that you're doing. So what made you decide to major in that, and then kind of that set you up to go into law school then? So yeah, I guess thinking back, going into undergrad, what made you decide to pick economics and public policy as your degree?
Yeah, when I started school, I was really had an aversion to econ when I started because I kind of thought of econ as like the finance bro major, like thought of it more as like Excel
Finance, bro.
sheets. Yeah, like
Right.
just not, that's not what I want to do. I didn't want to do banking. I didn't want to do
Mm-hmm.
Excel. Like, I don't
You
know. That's good.
associated all of that with like
Yeah,
economics.
yeah, yeah. That's what I thought econ was. And what I kind of learned to appreciate over the 4 years is that econ was more of a way of approaching problems and a way of conceptualizing problems in a very deliberate and surgical fashion. I don't know. I think of econ, I mean, it is a STEM major. People don't believe me in that, but it's very much like a mathematical logic focused major, which I really like as a way of framing problems, right? Like the thesis I did in my econ department was about voting, right? Like it wasn't about money or government. It was about, well, I guess voting is government, but it wasn't like money and financial markets. And so what I liked about that was it was a way of thinking. And then I kind of had PubPol in their public policy as the problems that I wanted to look at and address. And so a lot of law, which is where I'm at now, is very public facing and the impacts it has on different communities. And so, econ gave me the lens of addressing and looking at problems, and public policy gave me, the more granular details on specific problems that I could look at.
So they really
that was a little bit
complemented each other.
philosophical, but yeah, I thought it was like a 2-track complementary system.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I can see why that kind of set you up to study that in school and then obviously carry that with you into your law degree. But I want to kind of go back because I remember there was a time with us talking, and it was probably like when we were both in undergrad, and you kind of had, like, you weren't really sure if law school was going to be your next step. You weren't really sure if you wanted to be a lawyer. Like, did you ever feel that you had this expectation to become a lawyer? I know your dad is a lawyer, but did you ever feel like that added pressure, like, I guess, like, this is the path I have to pursue? Or what was kind of your, your mindset for all of that?
Yeah, there was definitely a time when I had to, I wanted to avoid law school at all costs. And that was for a few reasons. It was kind of like, first, it felt like a foregone conclusion. Not because my dad was a lawyer. Never did I feel like my family pressured me to. But it was more of like, I felt like ever since I was a little kid, I would argue. And then people would be like, you should be a lawyer someday. And I was like, that's stupid. And so it felt like I didn't want to feel like my trajectory was determined before I had a chance to decide it. And I think the second reason I kind of was apprehensive to go into law school right away is, and this is kind of a sentiment I still have now, is, I don't know, there's value in like not being a student your whole life. Like, I know eventually I'm going to enter the workforce in 2 years, but like a lot of my peers here, I think 90% of the law students at Yale Law School worked for at least a year before starting law school. And I think that's a really valuable experience that you're able to bring some sort of professional experience into your academic experience. Versus me, I'm still kind of like a bright-eyed, like, college freshman with regard to the, you know what I mean? Like, I've never, like, I've had internships, I've worked, like, I'm not lazy, but I've never had, like, 2-year-long job where I'm clocking in, clocking out every day and able to bring that experience and map that out.
But, in another sense, looking at it from a different way, you're still bringing a valuable perspective to the table in comparison to your, your colleagues. I mean, no, you haven't necessarily been in the real workforce, but I mean, with your internships and all the other professional experience that you do have, you're still bringing, I feel like you're still bringing a valuable perspective to the table, coming straight out of undergrad, going into, like, that's not easy to do either. So the fact that, you have to take a step back and realize that accomplishment as well. And I know everyone is on their different path, and for some people it does work out to take a break or to take a gap year or two or however long they need before pursuing law school. But for you being able to go straight through, you got to realize the I guess the benefits that can come from that for you as well.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't know, part of it's like, I don't know, a moment when this really stuck out for me is we were reading a case about 9/11. It was something to do with how the government responded to 9/11. And the teacher asked like everyone where they were on 9/11. And my 2002 self was like, I was
you weren't even
not
alive.
even a thought. Yeah.
Right.
And this connects to me is like, I remember I was in 6th grade. I saw it and I decided that's the day I was going to join the military one day. I was like, you have a world of experience I don't have. Wow. But I think you're right. There's different ways of framing it for like the different value add each person's perspective brings.
Right. Are you the youngest in a lot of your classes or in comparison to a lot of like your cohort or?
Yeah. There's definitely, they call it in law school a KJD. A KJD is someone who goes from kindergarten to JD, Juris Doctorate, like K through 12, KJD.
So you're a KJD?
Yes. Okay. There's a couple of us. I think it's around 10% of the law school is a KJD, but definitely the exception, not the rule. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what would you say ultimately changed your mind then to pursue law?
So I think what changed most was I realized I reframed it in my mind away from that this was a foregone conclusion, right? Like I talked earlier about how I was apprehensive because I felt like I always was leaning towards law school and I wanted to deviate from that path. And I kind of reframed it in my mind of instead of figuring out why you want to deviate from that path, take a step back and look at see if that path is right for you in the first place. And I know that sounds kind of like amorphous and what does that even mean? But the way I think I kind of encountered that firsthand is I kept on in undergrad trying to do internships and experiences that were
Mm-hmm.
non-legal facing to give me a palate, a taste of something that would look like outside of law school. And
Mm-hmm.
every single time I would do these, I would compare it to the benchmark of what I see my life as a law student or a lawyer. And when I realized that I was using that as my benchmark, I was like, why am I trying so hard to avoid this possibility?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So it was kind of through trial and error and figuring out what I didn't like that I discovered, this is something that's important to me. Law is something that I have a lot of interest in. And I'm really glad I'm pursuing it.
Yeah, it was kind of like your calling because no matter what you did to try to like steer away or try to, like you said, get a taste of something else, you still ended
Yeah.
up right back on the path to
Yeah.
pursuing law. So that's really funny. So it was meant to be. It was really meant to be for you. And like you said, you did explore other avenues and other paths to see, if you were to veer in a different path, but it all kind of led back to where you are now.
Yeah.
So what would you say, because now you're in your second year, what has been the most difficult thing? I mean, I know you got through, I'm guessing, is first year the hardest, would you say, or not
Yeah. I think
necessarily?
I think it's probably the hardest. At least I hope. Like, yeah.
Hopefully it's only up from here. So in this transition now into now your second year, what have you found to be the most challenging thing for you?
Yeah. I think this is something that's less academic and more like idiosyncratic or personal, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. My time at law school has really reinforced the importance of judging success by an internal rubric, not some sort of external yardstick. I don't know. My class is 200 people and it's full of like 200 people that I think are the smartest human beings I've ever met. Like they are all geniuses and I feel like an
Mm-hmm.
idiot in every room I walk into, which I don't think I'm an idiot. It's because you're surrounded by so many successful people that like
Yeah, no, I understand. It's hard not to
when you,
compare, right?
yeah, exactly. And so it's really hard when you hear about people who've had all these successes because they've worked so hard and have all these great experiences to try and gauge your own success and map it onto theirs. And that can be really exhausting, right? Like you're trying to map onto like 200 different life experiences, trying to keep
Mm-hmm.
pace with them. It's this like hedonic treadmill that never ends. And so something that I've really worked on over the last year is really being able to gauge and define success. For me, that means success, sure in the classroom, like learning and feeling like you're
Yeah.
proceeding there, but also like more in a personal, professional sense, being able to refine your interests, refine what success looks like for you in a career. I don't know. That's something that's been important to me over the last year. And I think, I was forced to learn that by being around people who are so talented that,
Mm-hmm.
it reinforces the notion of everyone can be successful in different ways and you need to be able to sit back and reflect on what it means for you.
Yeah, no, I feel like that kind of, in a way, sounds like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Not that you don't
Yeah.
feel that you belong like you're in the spaces, but in a way, comparing yourself to all of, like you said, these 200 other students and
Yeah.
their lived experiences and, all of everything they bring to the table. I mean, it's hard to not sometimes be like, oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. But it's like, I guess it just comes with time reminding yourself that I am here for a reason. I mean, I've talked about this on so many of my previous episodes, but
Hmm.
that I am here for a reason. I belong in the spaces that I am in, and I can bring so much valuable, I guess, perspective or advice to the table as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a flavor of imposter syndrome because it's even if you accept that you belong in a space, but that's
Mm-hmm.
only step zero. Step one then is like figuring out what you do once you enter a space, right? Like, and figuring out what success from you means in that space and being able to find your own niche in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that. I like how you break that down because imposter syndrome is so many different things. It's not
Yeah.
just, like you said, it's not just like feeling like you don't belong in the space because it's like, okay, once I feel like I belong in the space, and then it's like, okay, then what? So, no, I
Yeah.
completely get that. I completely get that. And speaking of, your own like niche, however you want to say it, what type of law are you interested in practicing and why?
Yeah. There's the short-term answer and the long-term answer. The short-term answer is I'm definitely gonna work in corporate law for a little just because it pays enough to pay back my debt. Law school's
Yeah, you gotta
expensive. I
pay.
want to get rid of debt.
I understand.
So that's the short-term answer. The long-term answer is something that I find really important, both intellectually stimulating, but also important in a more like universal sense is election law and voting law. I don't know. It's weird because it's like almost been politicized in this weird way lately. I'm not like trying to like bash at MAGA or Trump, but it's been weird that like elections are now something that we consider on the table politics wise.
Mm-hmm.
Versus for me, I find it really important legally because it's supposed to be the most apolitical force possible. We're a democracy, right? Like
Right.
being able to have access to free and fair elections is really important. And so and what else I think is really interesting about election law and voting law generally is that it's a largely state-ran regime, but you also have federal interventions. Law looks different wherever you practice, but it is
Hmm.
especially different in this realm because elections in Ohio look a lot different than Connecticut, than Tennessee, than Florida, right? Like you get all these different flavors, and it creates these really unique legal challenges that I think is really intellectually stimulating as well.
Okay, so once it's time for you to take the bar, I know obviously New Haven, Connecticut is not where you want to stay. How does it kind
Hmm.
of work in terms of, like, let's say you do want to go back to North Carolina, will you have to take the bar for North Carolina, or how does that work?
Yeah, so my impression is, and I should honestly have a better answer to this, but my impression is that you take it based on where your job first out of law school is going to be.
Gotcha.
And so most people, by the time the bar is like August
Hmm.
after you graduate, right? Like you're presumably hopefully have a job by then, right? Like,
Lined up by then,
yeah,
contingent
yeah, yeah.
on your bar.
Yeah, well, you can even start working before the bar. There's only some of the tasks of a lawyer require bar pass.
Oh, okay.
Regardless,
Okay.
regardless, you tend to take it where you're originally going to go.
I
Um,
see.
and then after you start practicing, states have some sort of deals where they're like, oh, you passed their bar and you practice for
Hmm.
2 years. Okay, you can come practice here. You'll be fine. That's kind of the gist of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, it'll kind of be contingent on where I see myself come next
Yeah,
year
where that
or the
first
immediate
job
following.
ends up
Yeah,
being, and okay, gotcha,
exactly.
gotcha. So I know during undergrad, you two were telling us you did a lot of research on Jacob. Oh my gosh, I was thinking Jacob
Yes.
because you have Jacob's Jerry, but you've done a lot of research on gerrymandering. So,
Yeah.
for those, a lot of people may not understand exactly what that is. So could you kind of break it down in maybe layman's terms, and then I guess also talk about, what you have found from your research?
Yeah. So, I mean, gerrymandering is a really like sexy topic in like news politics right now, but I don't
Hmm.
think I've seen a lot of places like really explain it at the most like basic level.
Right, right, and I feel like it's important to understand these concepts.
Yeah. And so, a pure democracy that other countries would have would be 50% plus one gets you the election, right? So
Hmm.
imagine an election for governor. That's kind of how that works, right? Like in the state of Ohio, one runs for governor, whichever one receives more votes than the other wins. That's not how it works for any level of federal government, right? For the president, you have the electoral college. But in the House, what we do is we elect our congressmen and women at a
Hmm.
district level. And so each district in the US is supposed to be around the same population. But the key is how you draw those lines, right? If you draw the lines such that you clump certain voters together and you carve certain ones out, you're able through just like sixth grade level line drawing, right? Like you're just playing connect
Hmm.
the dots. You're able to change an election result. I think a really good illustrative example would probably be North Carolina in the 2010s to 2016. North Carolina is a purple state. Usually it's 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans showing up at the poll, sometimes a couple more or less for each. After 2010, Republicans were able to do some creative line drawing, and suddenly North Carolina was sending 11 Republicans to D.C. and 3 Democrats to D.C., no matter
Hmm.
the outcome of the elections. And there's a lot of losers in that. Democrats lose, obviously, because they're not getting representation in Congress. But Republicans lose too, because when you have these really safe Republican seats, you're no longer having people fight for the core of the Republican Party. Instead, it's who can be the most extreme, who can be the most Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Hmm.
who can be the most far right. And so everybody loses, right? You lose if you're the minority party because you don't get representatives. You lose if you're the majority party because you don't get these competitive elections.
I see.
I don't know. It makes me really sad. It's like democracy failing, and it sucks. And it's a uniquely American phenomena that's existed for 200 years, and we can't fix it. So,
And that's why when
um,
it comes to gerrymandering, it's so important to have that equal representation depending on the location of wherever that may
yeah,
be.
yeah. Like, no one's saying that Texas should elect 30 Democrats and 5 Republicans. No one is saying that it should be tilted in their favor. Inversely, Republicans don't deserve a majority of Californian delegates. But everyone deserves like a seat at the table and be able to get fair, proportional, whatever that means, representation.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I know you also have Jacob's Jerry. Can you tell us what this Instagram account is, what it
Yes.
does?
Yes. So, for those viewers out there, I highly recommend following at Jacobs, JACOBS -- Jerry's,
With the G, right?
GERRYS. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just so everyone knows. Basically, what it is it's my personal account where there's a platform online where you can draw these gerrymandered maps. And sometimes I do it just for like giggles, right? Like just making funny maps. But what I try to do is I try to show how you can do this line making, because it's really hard to explain in words how you can draw these lines in specific ways to segment
Hmm.
voters. But when you see a map and see how you actually do it, you can quickly intuit how you're able to do design making. So it has a lot of pretty maps on it. I try to explain why gerrymandering is bad and how it works, trying to gain a following. So, I'm going to hop
Right.
on the bandwagon here on this podcast and try to steal some of your media attention.
How many followers do you have on there?
I think 87.
Oh, wow.
Last time I checked. Yeah, no big deal. I'm kind of famous. I'm not going to lie.
You haven't put much content out there recently, so that might be hurting you.
Yeah, that's probably, I haven't posted in a year. So
that will do it.
Since May. I posted in May.
Oh, okay. That's still a while if you're trying to rack up the followers. That's
Yeah.
okay. It'll all come with time. So, Jacob, I know you said after law school, after the bar, corporate law, probably for a few years before you really get into what it is that what you want to do. But I know you also said that lifelong learner, that school is never done for you. So talk with me. I know you considered maybe a PhD. Would that be what, Hervey, sorry. Dr. Hervey. So yeah, why that?
Yeah. A really big lifelong goal of mine is to teach. I find teaching really important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's something that I think is really important that I think is undervalued. And education is the art of teaching. A lot of teachers are hired or professors. I'm trying to talk more about like collegiate professorships. I have a lot of respect for high school teachers, middle school teachers, but college professors, I think, are hired on a bad rubric based on their ability to produce really novel research, which is awesome, cool, great. But I don't think we value enough like the art of being able to explain things well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So something I really want to do is become higher ed professor at some point. A lot of that does require, some sort of advanced degree. So part of me is considering a PhD in econ, just because you're able to map on like your empirical data skills with legal skills. I don't know. It's definitely still in the woodworks, and we'll see kind of how that pans
you
out.
have so much time. Yeah, school will always be there. Get working, get your foot in the door, start your career, and then if you want to go back and you decide that the PhD is what you want to pursue, then it will always be there for you. And I feel like teaching, whether you're doing it while you're practicing law or not, I feel like that's a great, it doesn't have to be a retirement job, but maybe once you're towards the
later
end of
in
your
life,
career, even, later in life. So I think that's a great goal and a great kind of career trajectory for you. So I could see you doing it. I could very much see you doing it.
I really want to do that. That's like my goal is to be like, I want to wear a bow tie and suspenders to class. Like that is like the visualization I want.
Okay, those students, I pray for those students, but
yes.
I know they'll learn a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I know you've always been a very high achiever. You set very high expectations for yourself, and I feel like at times, that can be hard. I mean, I feel like in a sense, I can be the same way, and when it comes to setting those high expectations for myself, and that can be at times putting like unnecessary pressure on myself and causing stress that doesn't need to necessarily be there. But I guess in terms of where you are now, being in your second year of law school, do you ever find yourself, struggling with those expectations?
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. Like I set expectations for myself way too high. My own worst critic, right? Like if I do bad, I'm going to be the first person to criticize myself. And if I do well, I'll probably be the last person to compliment myself, right? Do you get what I mean? Like it's like you're your own worst critic. I don't know. So on the one hand, I don't think this is wholly a bad thing, right? Like being able to push yourself in theory is a really good thing. Like stress is in a healthy amount a motivator. The question is how much is a healthy amount? And we know that there's very quickly a point at which being a critic on yourself and putting stress on yourself can be more harm than productive. And so kind of the way I've been encountering this is like in law school a lot, like I don't know, I'm in an ecosystem where I am not the star student, right? Like I think I'm a hard worker. I study, I do all my work, but like everyone here is a freaking genius, right? Like, so you have to start to like, I don't know, like in any situation you can put yourself in, you can be the top 1% or the bottom 1%. And being able to reframe a situation to recognize that you need to gauge it based on your own individual growth rather than pegging yourself to other people is kind of that. So yeah, I'm with you. Like put up more stress on myself than I need to. Sometimes that can be healthy, but oftentimes that crosses the line into being more harm than good.
Yeah, I understand. I feel like even still now, being out of school and being in the workforce, I feel like that's very easy to do, even if you're not in an academic setting. So it really does like recognize the good, give yourself the compliments. Like I completely get where you're coming from. But I think for you now, still being a student and being a law student, I know how demanding that how rigorous that coursework is and just everything is right now. So how do you kind of balance law school with also just, you're 23, right?
Yeah, yeah.
With just being a 23-year-old and wanting to have a life. I mean, I know there's not much of a life to be had in law school, but you still want to,
Yeah.
for the sake of your mental health, your physical health, you still want to have a life.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, law school is definitely a lot more work than it was in undergrad, just like
Mm-hmm.
quantity wise. Like I tend to estimate I probably do 80 to 100 hours of work a week, which is like just
Wow.
trash. That sucks. It just sucks. But like
Mm-hmm.
I am really deliberate about making sure that my time not spent in class is time being spent productively.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like scrolling through reels is super fun for me, don't get me wrong. But I have a lot more fun, like in my like hour of free time, I would have a lot more
Mm-hmm.
fun if I'm with friends, going to lunch or, you know, hanging
Just
out. I
getting
don't know.
out.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like time is such a resource that you need to make sure you capitalize as much as you can. So like right after this call, I'm going to Oktoberfest in New Haven with some friends. Like I'm just like
Oh,
I try to
good.
be really deliberate about carving out time. And then there's ways you can build in synergy between work and play. Like I sound like such a consultant saying synergy. I hate that. Um, but I don't know. I do a lot of group studying, which, is
Mm-hmm.
still work. It's still not like rip roaring fun. But
Right,
when
but
you're,
just being with people, I feel like having
yeah,
your community, yeah, I feel like that makes a difference.
yeah, it totally does. And I learn better when I'm with people. Like they call it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you tend to have confirmation bias when you study and like, oh, I understand this when you really have no idea what is going on, right? Like you just don't. Yeah.
No, I
But
get that. I get
yeah,
that. That's nice that you try to make a conscious effort to, when you're not focused, take a step away from school, even if it's a little bit, even if it's an hour or two, just getting out, being with people, doing things that you enjoy. Um, yeah, different things like that
exactly.
that can make all the difference. Yeah. So what types of things? What do you do for fun?
Um, I'm going to sound like such a millennial right now,
Oh
but
my
I've been doing a
gosh.
lot of pickleball. And I'd like to just note for the viewership, I was on pickleball before pickleball was a thing. I've been on the pickleball
Okay.
grind since 2017. I'm not
Oh,
like
you
a
didn't you're
latecomer.
not bandwagon. This is
No,
something.
no.
Okay. Okay.
I was
Important
a
to note.
pioneer. I was a pioneer. I was in a pickleball tournament last
Pickleball
weekend.
pioneer.
Made it to the quarterfinals out of like 60 teams. I think that's pretty good. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No big deal. My roommate and I were partners, and we had a whole little routine when we showed up to the courts. Like we did like butt kicks down the court, open the gate coming back.
Oh,
We did
wow.
just
Look
to
at
get in our
you.
opponent's mind, just to get
Right.
in their
This is
mind.
real. Yeah, this is no joke. This is real deal.
Yeah, no, no. So I do that. I like just being outside as much as I can. Um,
Hmm.
And like, I just like being around friends. That's really being friends. And I make a big effort to call my family as much as I can. I try to call my mom and grandma almost every day.
Aw,
I don't
I
know. It's
love
just a
that.
good
So do
reminder.
I.
And yeah, yeah. It just reminds you of why you're pursuing the things you're pursuing. Um,
Mhm.
just because there's people at home who've motivated you so much. So that's kind of important.
Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of brings me to ask, you said why you're pursuing the things you're pursuing. What is your why? I mean, you've accomplished so much up to this point. I mean, what kind of keeps you going and maybe even through the harder days?
Yeah, that's a good question. And a question that I'm glad I'm like being forced to answer right now because I think it's important to remind. Um, I don't know. I think, this, I'll start narrow and I guess broaden out. But at the most narrow level, I think in the realm of law, I see law as a really big lever for change. One legal action can have multiplicative effects down the line, having effects just through like precedent, but also just kind of in like social movementing. And I think it's really, we're all on this earth with some sort of gift, and that gift for everyone is different. And being able to find your gift and be able to leverage that as much as you can is why we're put on earth, right? Like we all have our own unique skills. And I think our goal in life is to figure out a profession that allows us to amplify this, right? Like, I don't know, like you're obviously a great communicator, Taylor, and being able to take that and have like a career that amplifies that skill to share with others, I think is something that's really important. And I think you're doing that great. So that's kind of
Thank
like
you,
my why
Jacob.
right now is being able to amplify things that you think are your gift, I guess is kind of
No,
what I'm saying.
absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
I love that. I think that was so beautifully put because, sometimes I mean, people ask me my why, and it's a hard question to answer, but it's like I guess I've honed in on my communication skills and my public speaking skills. And to be able to use a platform, whether it is through reporting or through this podcast, to amplify the voices of others and have real conversations or tell real stories like in media,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of my why. And I think just like you said, finding ways to leverage that and use that and to make the most of it. I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. And that's really what reminds us why it is we do what we do. So I love how you broke that down.
I'm glad. I'm glad I can, provide some semblance of reason in some of my rants. So I'm glad.
Oh, yes. No, I will say, considering your IQ, Jacob, this conversation has been very. I think the average listener will be able to take away some
Go.
very bad. So, what advice do you have for anyone out there, who may be transitioning from undergrad to law school, or maybe considering law school, or maybe in the position that you were, earlier in life when you were considering, like, is law school even what I want to do? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah. So I think advice number one would be like finding your niche, your niche. I don't know what the right way to pronounce that word is, if I'm being honest. But and I think that it's intentional with advice number two, which is don't be afraid to be a generalist. And I
Mhm.
kind of want to explain how those two things aren't contradictory. I think law is an art in the way that you approach problems in a legal way. Kind of what I was saying about econ earlier. Every single career and profession has a way of approaching problems. And
Mhm.
that's what I think is important about being a generalist, and that you have to learn to appreciate the art of whatever your career is. But in the case of law, like the art of legal argumentation. But at the same time, is you want to be able to have some sort of value add any space you enter into, right? Like if I enter into a room full of lawyers and I'm like, well, I know legal arguments. It's like, what value add do I have? Everyone should be able to do that. And so that's where kind of the other advice is finding your niche, like being able to
Mhm.
have some sort of specific expertise that you're able to add that value to. I think is really important. So it's kind of like the balancing of a perhaps impossible bargain between being specific and being general, and being able to
Mhm.
find that balance is, I think, really important. Honestly, in any career, but in law, I think it's something that I'm
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
is
No,
kind of important.
that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. I feel like that's applicable in so many professions. I mean, like you
Yeah.
said, especially in law, but kind of taking that away and applying it in a broader context. No matter what job or you may doing or whatever it is you're studying, find your niche, focus in, and be an expert on that. So you bring that valuable perspective to the table because it may be what sets you apart from 100 other people. But who's
Exactly.
to say?
Yes. Yes.
No, I get that. I get that. Well, I remember when we initially started talking about having you on, and I asked you to, send me a brief little bio of what you're up to date. So I did just want to confirm some things. You're listed here at 5'11", 180 pounds, blue eyes, blonde hair. Is that all? Is that all right? Just want to make sure, for our
Yes.
viewers.
Confirmed right here, 5'11". It doesn't have my weight on here. But yes, my stats are all correct. I sent you my
All correct.
stats
Okay, yeah.
before this. Yeah.
Don't show your ID. We don't need anyone
Oh,
coming
that's
to track
actually
you
so
down.
true. Actually, that's so
Put
true.
that away, Jacob. Put that away. Well, I'm going to encourage all of my listeners to keep up to date with you on Jacob's Jerry on Instagram.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So if we're collabing, as I start posting reels, should I collab with Jacob's Jerry, or would you prefer just the
Yes.
personal Jacob Hervey?
Both.
Instagram has the cool collab feature so it can show on your page too. So
No, sick.
yeah, even better.
Yeah, no,
well,
sick. Jacob Sherry's are going to get a feature.
well, maybe that'll give you the publicity you need to kind of continue growing the page. How is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for coming on here and, talking. I feel like where you're at is it's so unique, so to say, because I don't have a lot of friends that are currently in law school. So, that is why I wanted to have you on. But knowing you from back in high school, I feel like you're exactly where we expected Jacob to be. But I do want to ask, as you kind of look around at your life right now with law school and research and just life itself, where do you feel that you're at?
I feel like I'm simultaneously at the end of a chapter and the start of a new one. That is so movie line. Wow. I said that and I felt like
Wow.
I was in like Fault of Our Stars or whatever that like um but I definitely feel like I'm in a transitionary period. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
people in their mid to late 20s definitely feel like that. Um, and that I know for a lot of people, like can be like a very daunting, scary period in your life. Like
Mhm.
transitionary feels like you're like always homeless, basically, right? Like not homeless in like the metaphysical sense, but in the more ideological, like life place, right? Like
Mhm.
you're not a child, you're not an adult, but you're in this mid range. But I think there's something really exciting about this transitional period. It's like you have like a range, a myriad of different opportunities and life outcomes ahead of
Mhm.
you. And you are in control of choosing what channel your life goes down. And so being able to recognize that like a transition period is an exciting period has been kind of where I'm at. Right.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
exactly why I started this, because I was going back and forth, trying to figure out how can I help people, but I needed to focus on a specific group of people. Like you said, I needed to find that niche of people for this platform, right? Because anyone could just do a podcast, but I wanted to find that demographic of people. So maybe like mid-20s, early 30s, early career professionals, or maybe still in school, graduate
Yeah.
school, anything like that, higher education. And I wanted to be able to connect with people in similar parts of their life and hear those experiences and hear the perspective that they can share to maybe help someone else along the way. So I think, you've done exactly that.
I'm glad. I'm glad. This is really cool. I saw your podcast with Lexi, and
Mhm.
then I texted you right away. So I'm glad I'm on this. I'm excited.
You glad you made the cut to get on here?
Yes, I'm famous now. Let's go.
Jacob and Jacob's Jury, everyone.
Let's go.
Well, the prosecution rests. Does I say it right? Or I rest my case? Is that how it goes? Do you have
Yeah,
any?
killed it.
Would you like to cross-examine me, or no? You don't have any cross.
I can ask you about all of your life right now, but then I need to reserve another 44 minutes of questions for Taylor.
That is very true. So no cross-examination at this time.
None. Yeah, none.
Okay.
None.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob. It was great having you on here. And good luck with everything. Good luck with the rest of this year of school. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Taylor. It was a pleasure getting to catch up and talk to you.
That's a wrap on my conversation with Jacob Hervey. I loved hearing how he is defining success for himself on his own timeline and terms. And I hope it's a reminder that you can too. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who's on their own path towards something big. And of course, follow Where You At on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss what's next. But until then, keep asking yourself the question at the heart of every show: where you at?